Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on tonight's episode, I am giving you a checklist of the top 20 things you need to be doing to set up your small business or your startup. This podcast really is specifically for people who are looking to start a small business, or if they are working on their startup, or if they are an entrepreneur, maybe they are an influencer who is looking to get a little bit ahead in their marketing, then this checklist is for you. However, if you are a marketing agency, if you are a marketing coordinator at a company, if you have been working on your business for a very long time, this list can still help you, but you need to look at it from a bit of a different perspective, and you need to look at it from the way of, how can I still use these tips and these tricks now? How can they still benefit me now? Am I doing all of these things every single day? Am I making sure all of my dots are in line? These are the kind of questions you should be asking yourself when thinking about this checklist. So strap on in, get your notes out, get your pen and paper out, because I got 20 checklist items for you to look at today. Some of them are things you need to do daily, some of them are things you should do just to get started, and some of them are actually things you shouldn't do. So get ready, because all that and more on the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and let's get right into today's top stories. Our first story is that Entertainment Weekly is bringing us all together even when we are apart by reuniting some of our favorite shows. Entertainment Weekly is bringing back the cast of some of your favorite shows for their United at Home Together series, hoping to bring some joy to your home and a sense of community to the world during the COVID-19 crisis. The first show to reunite will be Chuck, the 2007 spy comedy starring Zachary Levi. The entire original cast and series creators, Chris Fedek and Josh Schwartz, will all take part in the fan-favorite episode Table Read. This special virtual table read on Zoom will not only bring together laughter and joy to the fans, but all the money raised will go towards feeding America's COVID-19 response fund. The event will take place on Friday, April 16th at 12 p.m. and will be available on EW.com, Facebook, and Instagram TV. And guys, I think, this is a great charity event. It is a great way to do a charity event during the COVID-19 crisis. I think that they are going to raise a lot of money for their charity, and they're going to draw a lot of awareness to the foundation as well, which is equally as important in case you've been looking to donate and you just don't know where you should be placing your money. Then you can learn more about this foundation and about the organization and really be able to help someone who actually needs it through them. So that's great. Secondly, I think it's great because I'm a fan of Chuck, and I am very excited for the reunion. But also, just from a marketing perspective, Entertainment Weekly really is taking a look at their resources and asking themselves, how can we help? And not just how can we help, but how can we help in a way that makes our customers and our audience realize that we want to help and that we want to be a part of the solution and not just also be involved in the noise. And I think this is a really great way to do it because Entertainment Weekly, they're entertainment. And so right now it's very hard to be producing new entertainment because all of the shows are put on hold, productions have been put on pause, and so there's not a lot of new content being generated right now. So I think this United at Home Together series is going to be a really great way to create content while still drawing attention to the virus, but also it'll be a good distraction from the virus. So a lot of moving parts when it comes to this, but I think they're all positive moving parts, and I think it's an amazing idea. It is being executed wonderfully, and again, I am very, very excited for the reunion. Are you excited for the Chuck reunion? What other shows would you like to see Entertainment Weekly put on through this series? Let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media. Our second news story of today is that Disney Plus is covering their butts. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm already giggling just thinking about this story, so forgive me. But since we've all been stuck in quarantine, streaming services have been getting a lot more use, especially Disney Plus. A lot of people, including myself, had always planned on revisiting some of our favorite classic movies from the past once we had free time. Well, now we all have free time, and the internet is starting to notice some things about those classic Disney films on Disney Plus. It appears that the streaming service has gotten a little creative in editing when it came to re-releasing some of these films to make sure that they would fit under the PG rating that Disney Plus stands behind. Most notably, the 1984 movie Splash, starring Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah, has made a lot of waves on the internet this week after fans have noticed some interesting editing going on. There's a memorable scene early on in the film where Madison, a mermaid who has now gotten her legs, has appeared in front of Alan, Tom Hanks, who is a human, and she is completely naked. You can't see anything due to creative camera angles. However, in the original film, when Madison runs into the water, the camera pans from Tom Hanks over to see her naked butt. In the Disney Plus version, the shot still happens. However, they have CGI'd in fake blonde hair to cover her butt. People are now asking Disney why they removed the butt instead of just removing the film and placing it on Hulu. Disney hasn't commented on the story except to admit that the edits were being made, but they have not stated when the changes were made to the film, if they were before they were put on Disney Plus or after. What do you think of this story? I think it's very interesting, especially in light of the Lizzie McGuire show being put on hold because it doesn't fit under the PG rating. So clearly this is something that the Disney Plus brand truly wants to stand behind, and they are refusing to shake on it even a little bit. And I think this is a really great example, and we are actually going to be talking about this on today's podcast, about when you create something for your brand, stand behind it. Now, we're also going to talk about how there are times to pivot and there are times to change, but Disney Plus clearly sees this as something they have to stand behind. And I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think it should have been put on Hulu, or do you think getting creative with the editing was a really great solution? Let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media. Our third and final story of today is that Netflix and Amazon stocks have hit an all-time high during the coronavirus pandemic. Netflix and Amazon shares have both closed on Tuesday after hitting an all-time high, with both tech giants managing to grow during this international pandemic. Netflix stocks rose 14% to 413.55 on above-average volume, while Amazon finished at 2,283.32, up 5%. Also, on better-than-average volume, Amazon is up 24% in 2020 to date, while Netflix has gained 25% in that span. Guys, I don't know what else to say other than obviously these tech giants are growing right now. This is their time to shine, and I think it's great, especially for Netflix, who I think we're all a little bit afraid for when Disney Plus came out. It's good to know that they're doing good. They're thriving in this pandemic when the rest of us maybe aren't. This is just a really interesting story, and I always think it's very interesting to get to take a look at the numbers and see who's growing and by how much. Let me know in the review down below if you are someone who is also interested in learning about the numbers and how things are getting affected based on the current climate. Is that something you would like to hear more about on the podcast? Is it something you're not interested in? I want to hear from you guys. It is so important for me to hear from you guys so that I can create the type of content you actually want to listen to. So, if you haven't already, do me the biggest favor in the entire world and just hit that tiny little purple button that says subscribe. We post new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are very active on social media, and we really just want to hear from you. So take a moment, write a review, rate us, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to us, and hey, you get some amazing content out of it. So it's really a win-win situation. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have the top 10 things in our top 20 checklist for things you should be doing to help set up your marketing for your small business, for your startup, or for your entrepreneurial spirit. So stay tuned for that because you're listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and on today's episode, I have a list of 20, we're going to call them to-do items or checklist items, or rather just things you should always be aware of when you are starting out in your small business, you are starting a startup, or maybe you are just a young entrepreneur who is looking to really take their idea, their Instagram profile, their influence level to the next stage in their career. You're looking to increase your marketing. I have a list of 20 items you should be checking off every day, every week, every month, just doing little check-ins with yourself based on these 20 things. Now, if you are someone who does not own a small business and instead you are a marketing coordinator for someone else's business, these are things that you can also still check and things you should still be aware of when you're doing your marketing for someone else's business, because I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast are in that position. So let's get right into our top 10 to start out with. Number 1, set goals. Now, there are 2 different types of goals you should set for yourself when working on your marketing, and there are similar goals that you should be setting for yourself in general. There should be reasonable goals that you are going to hit every day, and then there are the big, huge, dream-like goals that you eventually want to hit. So start by just setting a daily goal every day. Obviously, I said daily. But set one goal every day that really helps you focus all of your intentions on. Today, I am going to post every single hour on Instagram or tweet every 20 minutes. Those are both crazy levels of content you're going to be pushing out. And I would ask you, what are you doing? That is a lot of content. But you get what I'm saying. Set a goal for yourself that you know you can achieve in the next 24 hours. Now I want you to set a goal that you want to achieve in the next 24 months or in the next 12 months. And this can be something like, I want to hit X amount of followers. I want to have X amount of engagement. I want to be totally sold out of this product. I want to have a following that is this large. Those goals are going to take a little bit more time and a little bit more attention. But if you are able to set them and you are able to set a timeline for those goals, you will then be able to look at them in a more realistic way. They aren't going to just seem like dreamer goals or one day this will happen. No, one day is today and you are making it happen for tomorrow. So if you have a goal of, I want to hit X amount of followers, then you got to be posting every day. You got to be interacting with your audience. We have done so many different podcast episodes on followers and how you can interact with your followers better and how you can just achieve those numbers you're looking for. So I would urge you to go listen to those podcast episodes if you have a goal of setting so many different followers. But really what I'm trying to get at here is you have to set goals for yourself in your marketing. Otherwise, you are just shooting at a moving target. Number 2, treat your marketing as if it's your second job. So unless, again, you are a marketing coordinator and this is your main job, a lot of you, your main job isn't in marketing. Your main job is creating the product. And maybe the product is you, or maybe the product is your blog, or you make soap, or you make handbags. And so your full-time job is creating that product and creating content for your product. However, I would urge you to start treating your marketing as if it's your second job. It's that job that you have to go in on Saturday morning, punch in at 6 o'clock, punch out at 12 p.m., and just get the work done. Grind it out, but treat it like it's your second job. Treat it as if you need to show up for your marketing. You need to show up for yourself. There is a boss waiting for you to punch your time card. This way you'll be able to treat it with a little bit more intention. Because unfortunately, marketing for a lot of small businesses and a lot of startups ends up being an afterthought. Oh, we'll do that when we get time. What I am asking you to do is create time for yourself by creating your second job as your marketing coordinator. So this will be really simple. The trick that I use, I actually use it for recording this podcast, is I have office hours every Saturday from 7 a.m. till 1 p.m. So it's not a full day of work, but it is a chunk of time dedicated to working. And I hold myself accountable for that. But if you are unable to hold yourself accountable to a goal like that or a time frame like that, then ask your partner to. Ask your partner to say, hey, remember you were going to work from these hours. I think you should go do that. Set an alarm on your phone. Get your mom to call you at a certain time to be like, hey, get your butt to work. Get your butt to your second job. If you treat this second job of marketing with intention, then those benefits really, really will pay off. Number 3, talk to your Instagram followers through Instagram stories. So we're going to talk about later about the importance of really, really pushing your promotion and making sure that everything looks cohesive with your brand and everything has that nice shine and polish. But when it comes to Instagram stories and when it comes to your followers on Instagram, they really appreciate when you talk to them through the stories. Now, this is not going live. This is not using Instagram TV, but just turn on your camera, tell them what you're doing with your day, or if you just posted about a new product, then do a follow-up story talking about the product. Say, hey, I created this product, or we're launching this product today, or this is my favorite product we've ever launched. I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are too. But it feels a little bit more natural and a little less aggressive than just having the post. It's a really great way to connect with your followers and engage with them on a real and unpolished level. And also, you don't have to save the stories in your highlights, so they will be gone within 24 hours. Number 4, go live on Facebook. Going live on Facebook is such an important tool that we still don't use enough. A lot of people use it a lot. But if you aren't going live on Facebook, if you have never gone live on Facebook, then maybe make it one of your goals that we talked about earlier to try to go live once a month. And I have done a whole podcast episode on Facebook talking about Facebook Lives, different themes, different ideas you can do for those. So again, go listen to that. But again, the easiest one I always recommend for anyone just getting started doing Facebook Lives is to do a Q&A video. Have people type in questions. Make sure you have a few questions prepared in case nobody types in. And yeah, just really talk with your audience and interact with them. It can be a lot of fun. Number 5, big product about to launch, live tweet it. Guys, live tweeting is so, again, it's like Facebook Live. It was huge for a minute, and then people totally forgot about it. But it is still so useful, and one of my favorite ways I see it get utilized is if a big product gets launched on a day, then the person who created it, the company, will live tweet during the launch of the product. A really great example is I listened to this podcast called Pretty Basic with Alicia Marie and Remy Cruz, and when they release a new episode every Wednesday, I believe, they also live tweet along with it playing, and they're like, oh, we remember recording this part, or, oh, we remember this story. By the way, this is a behind-the-scenes photo of us. And it's just another level of, 1, promoting that product that you worked very hard on, and 2, interacting with your audience on a level that they are cool with interacting with you on. They feel comfortable responding to you because it's live tweeting, it's in the moment, they are listening to the podcast with you, so it really feels like you guys are interacting together, even if you never meet. Number 6, create ready-to-use templates for all of your social media. So like I said before, I want you guys to be very organic and talk to your Instagram followers on Instagram stories, go live on Facebook, and be live tweeting. However, when you're not doing all this organic content, I want you to have ready-to-use templates that you can plug in information that will be for a product launch, that will be for an event you are hosting, that will be for a company-wide sale, a giveaway. All of these templates are ready to use. They're on your computer. All of your employees have them, and all they need to do is plop in the date and time. If you're looking for really good examples of this, I highly recommend, I smile because I always recommend her, but I highly recommend looking at Rachel Hollis. She has the exact same template she uses for every single podcast announcement that she does, for every single book launch that she does. Now, they're different templates, obviously. The podcast one is different from the book, and the book's different from the events, but the same event template will always be used for an event, and it's just a really great way to showcase the brand, keep things cohesive, and add that nice layer of polish to your social media. Number 7, look for opportunities to create user-generated content. You want to take a night off? Get your followers to create content for you. As silly as that might sound, this is a technique that big companies actually use all the time, especially Starbucks. How many of you remember, you're going to remember because I talk about it all the time on this podcast, but how many of you remember the Starbucks Red Cup Christmas contest that Starbucks did a few years ago? Instead of doing their traditional red cups that are normally beautifully designed by some sort of gorgeous graphic designer at Starbucks Inc., they were instead just given red cups out to every store. But they did a contest where you, the user, the audience, the customer, could create your own holiday design on the cup. And you got to then enter a contest to have your design be seen in actual stores. So 1, it made their audience feel like they were valued artists and valued employees at Starbucks. But 2, think about how many photos and content that Starbucks got just from this contest. People were posting those everywhere. So try to find ways to create your own user-generated content because it'll help you interact with your audience and your customers, but also give you some content to use for free. Number 8, network. So simple, such an easy idea, very hard to do right now, but make sure you are constantly networking, not just with people in your industry, but with people in the marketing industry. Ask them for tips, go to events, reach out through social media. They love talking about it, and you will actually get some very valuable information from that. Number 9, create a go-to mood board for your brand. So for those of you that don't know, and I've actually considered doing an entire podcast episode on this, so let me know in the review down below if you would be interested in that. But a go-to mood board is basically a bunch of photos or videos or quotes or inspirational images all on one board. A lot of people use Pinterest for it. I like having an actual physical board in front of me. But basically, it is just everything and anything that represents your brand. They do not have to be images that are like free to use on the internet because you are not posting this anywhere. But basically, it is a board that you can turn to and say, we want to post an Instagram story today. We are looking for a background. Our color is yellow. Oh, this background is a bunch of bananas. well, that content isn't free for us to use, but how can we recreate it using what we have here? And so it's just a way to really brainstorm with your group, with your community of people who are building your brand. Even if that's just yourself, it's a great way to brainstorm and get an idea of what your brand really, really looks like on a lot of different levels. So I highly recommend creating a go-to mood board. You can create other mood boards as well for each project, for photo shoots, for Instagram alone. But having a go-to mood board for your brand will really help you start off that brainstorming process, and it's a great resource to turn to. Number 10, remember that you can always hire people when you're ready, even if it's just on a contract or freelance basis. So I don't recommend, and I always do tell people this too, don't jump into hiring people. Don't be like, I need a photographer, I'm going to go out and hire a full-time staff photographer, I'm going to pay them a salary and health benefits. No, don't do that. That is going to be a drain on your resources at first. At first, you can do a lot of your own photography. You can do a lot of your own graphic design. There's a lot of stuff that you can DIY that will look good, will look professional, and will get you to where you need to go. But eventually, there is going to be a time that you need to hire people. So I would encourage you to set one of your goals to be hire X person whenever you come up with a problem that you don't know how to solve. Write it down in a notebook, keep it close to you, try to solve the problem on your own, and if you have exhausted all of the resources currently in your capabilities, then hire someone. But I always recommend hire people on a freelance basis first or on a contract basis first if you are a small business or a startup, because you don't know. Maybe you'll figure out that you really do like taking your own photos, so a photographer just doesn't fit with your company. So be careful with that. Know your lines and know your boundaries when it comes to hiring people. Okay, everyone, that has been our top 10 list, our to-do list items for small businesses and startups when it comes to your marketing. We are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have the other 10 for you, so we will be jumping right back in. You have been listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we have been going through the top 20 to-do list or checklist items you should be referring to when you are starting your small business, you are going into a startup, or maybe you are even just a marketing coordinator for a company, but you really want to be able to check in on their marketing at a higher level. These to-do list items are for you. So before the break, we went over our top 10, and just to refresh you, that was number 1, set goals. Number 2, treat your marketing as if it's your second job. Number 3, talk to your Instagram followers through Instagram stories. Number 4, go live on Facebook. Number 5, do you have a big product about to launch? Try live tweeting it. Number 6, create ready-to-use templates for all of your social media. Number 7, look for opportunities to create user-generated content. Number 8, network. Number 9, create a go-to mood board for your brand. Number 10, hire people when you're ready. So I hope you got those all down. I hope you took that break to, review the list, maybe start brainstorming that mood board, and really just get ready for the second half of this list, because I got to tell you, the second half of the list is where we get a little bit more intense, we kick things up a notch, and we really start to focus in on how to improve your marketing right off the bat. By the way, I just snapped. That's what that sound was. I always forget this is a podcast and you guys can't see me, but I snapped because this part is important, so get ready to pay attention. Get your notepad out because we are taking notes. Number 11, cross-channel promoting. So this is something that so many people neglect. But basically, if you have a blog, and you have a vlog, and you also have social media channels, then you need to talk about your social media channels on your blog. And on your blog, you also need to talk about your blog. And on your blog, you need to talk about your social media channels and also your vlogs. Constantly cross-channel promoting will help you ensure that if you have an interactive audience on one platform, they will move to all the other platforms that you surface. So your Instagram followers will follow to your blog, and your blog followers will follow to your vlogs, and your blog followers will follow to your Instagram followers, and so on and so on. That could go on forever. But what I encourage you to do is to create a little bit of a map of yourself, of your top 3 platforms. Say you do have more Instagram followers than Twitter followers, but you have more followers on your blog than you do your blog. But you also noticed that your actual website gets a lot of hits on this one particular page. So create your top 3 and then make sure you are constantly talking about each other, each platform on all of those platforms, but then also try to interact with some of the platforms that don't get as much attention and make sure you promote them on the platforms that do. If you do better on Instagram than you do on Twitter, then talk about your Twitter on your Instagram. Number 12, push yourself and your ideas. Don't think small, guys. This is your marketing. It is a go big or go home type scenario. And I know that can just seem sort of corny or just sort of cliche, but it's true. With marketing, the sky really is the limit. Don't think about your budget at first. Don't think about your resources. I want you to brainstorm as big and as crazy as your mind will let you. And then from there, you can start to figure out, okay, well, how can we do this in the time frame that we have? And then how can we do this with the budget that we have? And then how can we do this with the resources we already have in staff? But first, you need to push yourself and your ideas. Number 13, utilize free resources. You're listening to one right now. Podcasts, books, audio books, free courses online, networking opportunities, so many free resources for you out there online right now. If you don't know something, Google it. Honestly, the information is out there. It might be in the form of a YouTube video. It might be in the form of a podcast episode. But the information is out there, and you are just a fool if you are not utilizing it. Number 14, content management systems are the best investments you can make in social media marketing to start out with. And not even social media marketing. When I originally wrote that, I really did intend social media marketing. But the truth is that a good content management system potentially can manage your entire content system. That is such a weird way to put that, and I fully understand that it sounds ridiculous. However, think of it this way. If you have a Facebook ad going and the leads are coming in, but you also have an Instagram ad running and the leads aren't going in there, they're going somewhere else because they're not connected, but also on your website you're getting a lot of traffic and you don't know where to find out how they're spreading their time on your website, a good content management system can show you all of that, can get all of your leads from Facebook, from Instagram, from the website, put them all in one place, from emails even. It can send out emails. It can do so much. So I highly recommend taking a moment and investing in a good content management system right off the bat. I would do this before I would hire anyone else. There is an entire episode I did called Technology in Marketing that you can go listen to where I talk about some of my favorite content management systems. But one of my favorites just off the top of my head is Sprout Social. However, that one is definitely more angled towards data consumption and understanding your data. So there's definitely pros and cons to all of these. I recommend going and listening. Utilize that free resource. Go and listen to that podcast. Number 15, don't pay for views and don't pay for followers. This is something I had to just tell my roommate today, actually. It is still something people don't understand. It's going to make your number look really good, but your engagement's not going to change. Your likes on an image, your value for how many people are actually buying your product, those numbers, they're not changing because you bought Instagram followers. And Instagram currently is searching the whole platform for bots that are following people. And once they find a bot, they remove it. You no longer have that follower and your money is gone. So do not pay for views and do not pay for followers. It is an absolute waste of money. You are going to have to get followers and you are going to have to get views the old-fashioned way by just promoting yourself. Number 16, pivot when needed. This is especially true because of the current climate. We are seeing so many companies really unsure of what to do because their marketing and their brand says this, but obviously things are different now, so should they be changing? Should they be doing something else? You need to know when to pivot. You need to know when to flex the rules of your brand because it is better for the entire company as a whole. However, number 17, stand behind your brand even when it's not easy to do. And we saw this earlier tonight in tonight's episode with Disney Plus having to edit out the scene in Splash to fit their PG rating. Clearly that is a foundation to their brand that they refuse to pivot on. So what I would like you to do is take number 16 and number 17 and figure out what are the pillars in your brand that you know you cannot pivot on. These are the foundational markers of your business that cannot change or everything will fall apart. And then I want you to decide what are the less supportive beams. What are the things that you really like and you really care about and you're very passionate about, but if push comes to shove, you can change. And then I want you to make a list of all the things that really are just like the flowers or really are just like decorations on a cake. Because you like them, they're pretty, they make things look good, but you know at the end of the day that if you got rid of them, it's not going to change your brand. And what I would like you to do is look at that list and then get rid of all of that. Nobody needs those flowers. Everything you do with your brand really should be at least that second category of important and helpful towards your brand. Otherwise, you're wasting your own time. Number 18, test everything before you send it out. This is something that seems like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's going to take so much time. But guess what? If you don't test it before it goes out, your audience is going to be very vocal about if they like it or not. So you might as well test it before to see if potentially they are going to like it so that you can get positive feedback rather than a whole bunch of negative feedback. I'm not saying that testing your content is going to totally prevent you from ever getting negative feedback again, but it might help soften the blow a little bit. So I definitely recommend, in fact, I insist that you test everything before you send it out. Number 19, copy what big brands are doing, but do it in your own way. So again, with that mood board we talked about earlier, I encourage you to put really big companies that you aspire to have your company be one day, or companies that brands you really like, or just like that inspire you. And then if they do a really big product launch that you are just absolutely in love with, figure out a way that you can get that feeling, you can get that idea in your own products, and you can utilize it in your own way. I'm not saying rip anyone off, I'm not saying steal any ideas, but if you really like that Coca-Cola did a commercial and then they live tweeted the announcement of the commercial and they tweeted along with you while you watched it, then maybe that tells you that you need to do more live tweeting. I am not saying steal from any of the big companies, just to be clear. I am saying use them as inspiration. Number 20, keep working on your brand. Your brand is something that is never going to stop growing because your company is never going to stop growing. And your business and your product and you as a human and you as a business owner, none of those things will ever stop growing. So you need to keep working on your brand. You need to pivot when you need to. You need to stand behind it when you need to, because it is something that is always changing, always growing, and always needs to be worked on. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.